Hi guys, it is such a beautiful day out here. It is starting to feel a lot like spring. So as usual, I take the opportunity to do some potting projects. And today's project is not very beautiful. I'm sorry about that, guys. I want to show you what I have here. So if you watched my plant tour, you saw this very, very tall, it was actually much taller than that. It was up here because I've cut several pieces, but a very, very tall aloe. And it's in pretty rough shape. It's in some pretty old soil, and it was so tall and gangly that I had it tied up with a stake, and I don't particularly like how a stake looks with house plants or any plant. I much prefer different methods, and in this case I decided to take cuttings, and then I will be adding those in, and hopefully they will both take, and I'm hoping that this one will also take. I may decide to trim it down so it starts lower down, but we'll see. And I'm not one to throw away plants when they don't look good. I really try to revive them or give them a better setup or change something about how I'm caring for them and give them a chance to thrive. So that's what today's video is about, repotting this. And I didn't show you how I took the cuttings. I did this probably 5 days ago in order to make sure that the ends dry out. And if you can see there, they're nice and dry and healed over, and that's really important when you're taking cuttings, especially succulent cuttings like an aloe. You want to make sure that that's healed up, because if you put that in moist soil, it could end up rotting. So the drying process is very important, and you know, the thinner the stem, the shorter the drying period, but you can look at it and judge. And once you determine that that end is dry, then it's safe to do your cuttings into put your cuttings into some soil. So let's get started. I did want to show you, because this is kind of an ugly project. I'm feeling self-conscious about that. I wanted to show you something pretty. For Valentine's Day, Laura from Garden Answer showed some topiaries that she made with wired twine, and you just make a shape and you twist it until you like how it looks, and you put a little bottom part on it that can stick in the soil, and you put a vining plant like an ivy. And I wasn't going too much to the store, so I didn't really shop around for my ivy, so I ended up getting a very small one, but it's actually starting to branch out a bit, and it's going to grow up and around the topiary. So I just wanted to show you. I think this is going to be really pretty, assuming that the ivy likes where I keep it and likes my care. It should grow up and around the plant, and I thought you guys might like to see that, because I'm guessing many of you probably watch Garden Answer. She has a great channel, and she does fantastic projects like this, as well as having a beautiful garden. So that is the pretty part of this video, and let me get back to the atrocious looking part of the video. So I actually like the way this pot has weathered out. I say weathered out, it's not really out in the weather, but a lot of times terracotta pots, the water, any minerals in the water or soil will leach through and turn the pots white, and I know some people like to scrub that off, but I really like the way aged pots look, so I'm going to go ahead and reuse that. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the stake that I hate. We'll get rid of that, and the twine as well, and let's just dump the plant out. And I think we're going to be horrified at the condition of the root ball. Let's see, maybe I'll be surprised. So it's not even coming out that easily. Well, you know, the root ball doesn't look so bad, but I want to show you this dry soil. Now, I have kept my succulents dry in the winter, but look at that. You can just tell it looks very, I think this was planted a lot of cocoa coir or peat. It just does not look very nutrient dense. So I'm going to take a little bit of this off, but I don't want to disturb too much of it. I don't really think it's a good idea to damage too many roots if you can avoid it. but I do want a chance for the fresh soil to get around it. So I'm trying not to rip too many roots and just get off the hardened root ball. And sometimes that can happen with peat or cocoa coir. You really want to mix it with other things, and I think I really stuck this in primarily cocoa coir. So that was a mistake on my part. Oh, and guess what? I am seeing a tiny, this is a miracle, another succulent miracle here. I'm seeing a tiny little growth in there. I don't know if you can see it by the stem, but that's giving me hope. And I know this is alive because it had the green part on the very tippy top. All right, so I feel pretty good about getting that off. And after I said I wasn't going to disturb the soil too much, look at that, most of the soil came right off. So since this is the biggest one, I'm going to go ahead and plant that in. And I have, as usual, mixed some potting soil with Manna Pro oyster shell grit. And this is something that's meant for chicken digestion. But in my search for grit on the internet, when I didn't want to go to the store, I found this product. And I think it's really great. It's like stones, but they're ground oyster shell. And like I always say, when you're planting up succulents, you have to make sure you have really good drainage. That's the way they're happiest. There we go. They can't be their roots can't be sitting in water. But there we go. We have a nice mix of potting soil and a generous helping of the oyster shell grit. And I'm going to bury it so that this new growth is maybe down an inch. It was under soil, so I think it's going to come out just fine even if I bury it underneath. And I'm tucking all the roots in. And I'm not doing a bigger pot, guys. I think this is a just fine size here. So I'm going to add in all the soil around it. I put some soil underneath as well. And I'm definitely going to cut this shorter. I think I want it to start growing out of the sides shorter. And I'm hoping that it does grow out of the sides. So I'm pretty much filling it up because my other stalks, my other cuttings do not have any roots to contend with. And I'm pressing soil around things. You don't want too many air pockets. That's an opportunity for roots to dry out. So you don't want to compact it, but at the same time you don't want huge air pockets. So I'm going to take these ugly stems. Again, they're all dried off, and let's hope for the best. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But this one should make a plant coming out of here. And everywhere where there was a leaf, there should be roots that spring out if all goes well. So let's put that in there, and I'm going to make sure that I really tuck it in low, because the more roots that come out of those areas, the stronger the root system will be for that particular cutting. And then this, of course, is the best looking one. I am going to put it in a little bit at an angle because it was bent towards the window, and I think it'll look good that way as long as it's buried. I don't actually think it matters if it's perpendicular. The roots will come all out of wherever those leaves were, out of where the leaf scar is. All right, so I'm going to cut. I don't have my scissors out here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this low, and hopefully either the new root, the new little sprout that we saw, will spring out of here, or it'll put out some new shoots from the stem. So guys, I think that looks better, way better already. I mean, just the top part looks better. Even if the other two don't survive, this is a big improvement. So like I've been doing, I think I'm just gonna sprinkle some Manna Pro. I won't do it too heavily around this one, just because I want to give that sprout a chance to come through. And then we are going to be all done. And in an effort to be neat, I've gotten oyster grit everywhere. And I'm going to put one, now instead of staking, like I said, I'm down on staking. I'm going to put a nice big rock here. It's going to sort of be an accent. And it's going to hold my plant upright so that I can train it to grow the way I want it to look, since this was an effort to make this plant look better. And there we go, guys. Here it is. Once this is cut down, I think it's going to look a lot nicer. And while you're rooting cuttings in, it's best to put it in a spot and let it sit there for a month or two without moving it around too much. Maybe if you want to move it once, that's okay, but you just don't want these rocking around in the soil. So I'm going to try to let it sit and stay where I put it, and I am so much happier with this look. I can't wait to see what it does this summer. I hope I can give you a good report. And I'm sorry that this was kind of an atrocious looking project. So I'm going to put my beautiful project right next to my atrocious project and try to balance out the beauty a little bit. But thanks so much for joining me, guys. And I hope you're enjoying potting up your plants and getting into the garden. Bye.